What is going on, you guys, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're gonna make a logo reveal animation in LumaFusion. It's gonna look something like this. This video is also sponsored by Epidemic Sound, so a big thank you to Epidemic Sound for making this video possible. Now, I'm not sure how long my voice will last, so I think we're just gonna head over to the iPad and start the tutorial. But first, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, if this is the first time that you are here, welcome, really nice to see you, and I really hope that you enjoy today's content and the content which is coming in the future. Yes, let's head over to the iPad. Now, once we're inside of LumaFusion, we're gonna make a new text layer. We're gonna extend this text layer to 5 seconds. This is to make sure that we have enough room to work with when we are creating the animation. The next step is to go into Edit, over to Titles, and delete the text. Once the text is deleted, we're gonna add a new shape layer. Then we're gonna select from the presets on the top right corner, and we're gonna choose the 3-pixel line. Once this is selected, we're gonna go down to Rotate and rotate this to 90 degrees. The next step is to shrink the line and make it a little bit thicker, so we end up with something like this. Once we have the appropriate size, we're gonna center this to the middle of the screen. The next step is to move over to Frame and Fit, and here we can either decrease the number of the size Y, or take one of the dots on the top or bottom and drag the opposite way. For this example, I'm gonna take the top point and drag towards the bottom. Now, as you can see, we're now left with a small square, which we're gonna use to animate and reveal the line. The next step is to center this by double tapping on position Y. Once the shape is centered, we're gonna drag it over to the right outside of the frame. Then we're gonna create a keyframe at the beginning and advance 2 frames. For every single adjustments that we do, we're gonna advance 2 frames forward in time. And to create the easy ease animation, we're gonna start with small adjustments to the position X. Now, after about 3 or 4 keyframes, we can start to have bigger changes to the position X for the following 5 frames. Now, once we created the next 5 keyframes, we can start to slowly decrease the amount we adjust to the position X until we get to the point where we are ending the animation. Now, a pro tip here is to save the last 4 keyframes for the changes of 0.1 and 0.2. That means the first 2 of the last 4 keyframes are gonna have a change of 0.2, and the last 2 is gonna have a change of 0.1. This is to smoothen out the end of the animation. Once this is done, our animation will look like this. So the next step is to make the animation which will reveal the line. You can also decide whether you want this to have a delay to it, or if you want the animation to start right away. So if you want this to start right away, you only need to go 2 keyframes forward in time from the first animation created. You can also decide whether you want this to have a bigger delay by skipping more frames before you start the animation. For this one, I'm only going a few frames before I start the next animation. And the way that we're going to create this animation is the exact same way as the first one. We're going to start by going 2 keyframes forward in time, and this is what we're going to stick to throughout the entire tutorial. Now, once we move 2 frames forward in time, we're going to start with the adjustments to the size Y. And just like we did with the first animation, we're going to apply small changes to begin with, gradually increasing the changes we do, for then to slow down the changes and make minor changes to the end of the animation. This is also to smoothen out the animation once it gets to its endpoint. And if you have a hard time following the exact numbers that I plot into the settings here, you can always slow down the video here on YouTube and then follow at a slower speed. Now, once the animation that reveals the line is complete, we have an animation that looks like this. Now, there's one more animation that we're going to apply to the line, and that is where we have the animation of the line going from the right to the left, revealing the LumaFusion logo, which we have on our timeline. Now, to make this easier for ourselves, we're going to go and export this layer right here, so we don't risk ruining any of the keyframes. So we're going to do an export of 4K and 75 megabits per second. Once the export is complete, we're going to take the newly exported file and drag over to our timeline. Then we're gonna go into Edit, over to Frame and Fit, and start the animation from right to left. Here you can decide when you want the animation to start. For this example, I'm gonna start the animation when some of the line has been revealed. I'm gonna go to the point and make a keyframe. And like I said earlier, we're always gonna go 2 frames forward in time. So once we created the first keyframe, we're gonna go 2 keyframes forward in time and gradually increase the numbers on position X. So once the line is getting closer to the middle of the frame, we're gonna have bigger changes to position X. And once we get over to the left side of the frame, we're gonna have smaller adjustments to the position X, and then ease it out by keeping the changes of the last 4 to 5 frames to 0.2 and 0.1. And once we're done with the keyframes, the end of our animation will look like this. Now let's take a look at today's sponsor, which is Epidemic Sound. Epidemic Sound is a service I use every single day to find awesome music for the videos that I publish here on this channel. On their website, they have a fast and simple setup guide for anyone that signs up for the first time, even for a 30-day free trial or a paid subscription plan. If you're a freelancer or own a business, they also offer a commercial plan. Even signing up for a 30-day trial, you get access to the entire library of 35,000 music tracks and 90,000 sound effects. And this is just the beginning. Each week they continue to add more music and sound effects to their library, so finding the right track or sound effect is easier than ever. The pricing starts at €13 a month, which is about $15 or €10 a month, which is about $12 if you sign up for a yearly subscription plan. And once you've signed up either to a paid or free plan, you can connect your social media accounts to be whitelisted, so you don't receive any copyright claims. Epidemic Sound has so much to offer in forms of tracks, sound effects, and an easy-to-use layout. One of the features I always use as a content creator is the Find Similar button. I mentioned this many times before, but just having this is a game changer for me as a creator. Whenever I make a travel video, vlog, or a tutorial, finding similar tracks or sound effects without browsing through multiple pages just makes everything so much easier. So if you're looking for better music and sound effects, try it out then. 30 days, completely free, and you can cancel any time you want. Links are down below. Now let's get back to the tutorial. The next step is to take the animated lines and place on track number 3, the logo on track number 2, and that leaves us with room for a background on track number 1. The next step is to create a new text layer. This is going to be our background. Now if you don't want the background, you can also skip this step and then proceed to the next part of the tutorial. Now since this is going to be our background, we're going to go and delete the text and apply a new shape. This shape is going to be square, and we're going to make sure that it fills the entire screen. Then select the background color you want. And as you can see here, we still have the black background visible from the exported file, so we need to remove this as well since we didn't save it with a transparent background. So to remove this easily, we're gonna go over to Color and Effects, and we're gonna go over to the keyhole, and we're gonna add a dark Luma key. Then we're going to take the top handle and drag all the way over to the right. So now that we removed the black background, we can work with the animated line. The next step is to go into Edit on the logo itself, and you can see here that the line is now placed on top of the logo. That's because the animated line is on the track above the logo itself, which makes it easier to animate and make a smooth looking animation because it's easier to use the cropping tool to make a more accurate look. So we're gonna move over to cropping, then over to the beginning and make a keyframe. On the first keyframe, we're gonna take the left crop and drag all the way over to 100. And as we proceed into the clip, we're gonna go to the point right before the logo is about to be revealed and then make a keyframe. On the next keyframe, we're just gonna follow the line with the left crop handle and make sure that we always have the crop line centered within the white line. It don't have to be that accurate because the line is on top of the logo. Now let's move over to the timeline and take a look at the animation. Now, as we can see, the line is revealing the logo, but we want the line to go back and then out of the frame again. So the next step is to go to the point where you want to cut this, depending on how long you want the animation to last. So I found this point to be about a perfect duration for the animation. So cutting away that part and copying the animated lines, opening a new project, pasting the animation, and then do a second export of this animation. This is to make it easier for us later to reverse this clip and then make an animation which is going back out, so we don't have a static ending to the animation. Now, once we have the new clip applied to our timeline, you can also see that we still have the black background in the image. So we can take the settings from the previous animation, copy those, and apply to the last part of the animation going out. Once we apply the effects, we will have a transparent ending to the animation as well. The next step is to make a different ending to the animation, so it's a little bit different than the opening of the animation. So what we're going to do is to go into edit on the reversed part of the animation, then we can go to a point where the line is getting smaller and then make a keyframe. We can simply start by doing some fine rotations, and we're going to go 2 keyframes at a time here and just slightly rotate this as we proceed towards the end of the clip. Now, once our rotation is done, then we can start to adjust the scale of the animation and making it smaller on each keyframe, starting as the normal size and then getting smaller and smaller as we get to the last keyframe. And on the last keyframe, you can decide whether you want to shrink it all the way in or leave it as it is. Now, after applying the rotation and scale changes to the ending of the animation, our animation will look like this. Now, since we have the animation being reversed and the line is going back to the right, we can also apply a text layer. So we're going to take the animated lines and place on track number 4, the logo on track number 3, and that leaves us with track number 2 ready for the text. And the reason why we want to have the text on track number 2, which is underneath the lines and underneath the logo, is so it's easier for us to do the adjustments in cropping. Now, once we're finished with the text, we're going to make sure that we place it at the end underneath the logo and the animated lines, and then we can go over to cropping on the text layer, make a keyframe at the beginning, and then follow the line with the cropping, going a keyframe at a time. This is to make the animation accurate so we don't end up with any glitches in the movement. Now, once we've finished with the cropping, our text looks like this. Now, I still think the middle part of the animation is a little bit slow. So I'm going to go to the point right before the animation starts, make a cut, and I'm also going to do this to the reversed part and make a cut and delete everything which is in between, the logo and the background color as well. Now, we can also see after making the cuts that there has been some issues with the text here being out of line, so I need to go into cropping and do some adjustments to the keyframe before we have our finished animation. And once we get back out to the timeline, we can take a look at our finished logo reveal animation. Now, the first one here is exported without a background, making it transparent, and the next one is with the background. And as you can see, it's a little bit big, but there is an easy fix to this. So if we go back over to the timeline, we can import the exported clip here, which is the large version. Then we can just extend the background, then go into edit on the logo reveal, and since this has the same background now, we can easily adjust the size of it and you won't notice the change. Doing another export of this, you will have a logo reveal which looks like this. So there we have one way of creating a simple, clean and professional looking logo reveal animation in LumaFusion. There's so many different types of logo reveal animations that we can make. So if you want to see another logo reveal animation in LumaFusion, make sure to type it down in the comments section below. Also check out Epidemic Sound if you haven't already. 30 days of free trial. Use as many tracks as you want without getting copyright claimed. And that's going to be the end for today's video. If this was the first time, hit that subscribe button. Yes, that would be awesome. Oof.